So I just heard that Verizon laid off 13,000 people. So how are you supposed to get noticed in a market like this? Well, to figure that out, you and I are going to go back to the market crash of 2008 and the historic unemployment rates that followed just a couple years after that. At the time, I was a really, really new career counselor fresh out of grad school. And it was really weird to see these experienced businessmen and women, these experienced professionals, architects, executives, and even business owners come into our university center because I was used to 18-year-olds, right? I was used to a 25-year-old getting his first position out of school. But instead, a man walks in. And for today, we're going to call him James. Now, James had lost his entire construction firm and he needed a resume. Get this, because he was being overlooked for positions at McDonald's for being too experienced. Yeah, he's got 30 years of experience. Of course, they're going to say he's overexperienced, overqualified. But he had no other choice. James had to feed his family. So, of course, I helped him with this resume and he went on his way. And again, at the time, I was brand new. So I looked at things on surface level. But something gnawed at me for months. I would just keep thinking about the fact that I couldn't help him and could there be anything that we could have done? And it really wasn't until a couple of months later that I remembered something I learned in an economics class. And what I learned is that in every downturn, there's an opportunity. Now, I would love to tell you that James came in again and that we got him into a new position. But the reality is, I never saw him again. And that conversation really stuck with me. I knew that I couldn't help him then, but I always wondered if we thought differently about the situation, if we saw deeper than just surface level, could we have changed his story? Could we have created his strategy and gotten him hired? Now it's 15 years later, and now I know that I could have helped him. Because no matter how dire the situation is, there is always a way. And so today, I want to give you 3 ways that you can get noticed despite all the doom and gloom. And I'm going to show you how you can turn your understanding of this market into a secret weapon that's going to get you noticed faster and hired sooner. If you've submitted 100, 200, 300, 400 applications with little or no traction, you might be thinking that it's time to change careers, time to get another master's degree, time to switch industries. But I can almost guarantee you a change that drastic is not necessary. What you need is a much smaller bridge with just a little bit of upskilling so that you can get from here to your next position without having to uproot your entire life. So, my goal for today is to show you these 3 ways that the market is actually your opportunity and the bridge between now and your offer is a lot shorter than you think. And when you see that opportunity in a tough situation like this one, the steps you need to take become exponentially more clear. And then it becomes so much easier to stand out because you're no longer competing on the same level as everybody else. Jill is a great example of this, so I'm going to share her story in just a bit here. Hey, this is the Uncommon Career Podcast, and I'm here to share with you the new way of job searching. My name is Patricia, and I'm your career coach for today's job market. I've been working in career and life success since the Great Recession 15 years ago. And when that market crashed, I saw experienced professionals lose everything in the blink of an eye. So when I sat across from James, who couldn't feed his family, or from a woman in tears who had lost her entire livelihood, those conversations put everything into perspective. And I don't want that to happen to you or to anyone else. And so this is really why I do the work, to help you build the skills that you need today so you know you will always land on your feet. And if you want to learn this strategy, I have worked so hard this last few weeks putting together the entire process into 5 steps. And that's how we get clients hired in as little as 90 days. So if you want to know how we're doing it, head over to theuncommoncareer.com/90. That's 90 to grab it. theuncommoncareer.com/90. Okay, so let's get into it. What I'm going to do is take 3 signs that I keep hearing about over and over and over again as the reason why the market's so tough. But what we're going to do is we're going to flip that. We're going to look at it just a little bit differently so that you can turn that terrible sign into your opportunity. Number 1, I hear it is super competitive. And you're not wrong. It's totally competitive, right? Every time you apply, there's what, like 2, 3, 4, 500 applications. If it's a really good position, there's probably even 1,000 applications. And I think those metrics are what's the word? They are unhelpful. Let's say that. They are unproductive, right? Sometimes I look at statistics from other podcasts, or I look at how well another business is doing, or how many clients somebody has. And I think, oh, dang, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. You're about to apply for a position and you see 500 applications. You're like, oh gosh, now I got to beat out 500 people. And you kind of get that little, oh, I don't know if I'm where I'm supposed to be, right? Here's the thing though, out of every 100 applications, 70% of those don't actually meet the minimum qualifications. 70% of those applications are folks just throwing their name in the hat because they're applying for anything and everything. Even worse, it's probably those mass application systems sending applications all over the place. So that's the thing. There's a lot of competition. There's just not a lot of good competition. And this is how you are going to float your application and your candidacy to the top 1%. What you want to do is think of yourself as a business of one. Your employer or your future employer is your customer. And your goal is to delight your customer at every turn, at every interaction. Whether they see your resume, receive your application, read your cover letter, go into an interview, go into a networking call, every single point before and after, there should be a way that you are delighting them, that you are going above and beyond. But it doesn't have to take a ton of time. Here's just one example. So, Jill and I have been working together, and Jill's in kind of a difficult space that has been heavily impacted by AI. Jill was super worried that this field was completely dry and there was going to be no hope to get a position. So, what we did is we created a slide deck. The point at which there seems to be a bottleneck where we need to make you the top 1% is right before the interview. We want to set them up and set you up really well for the interview. And what we put in the slide deck are things that a customer would be interested in if they were to make a big commitment, if they were to make an investment. And so we said, okay, what are your desires? What are your challenges? What are your goals? What are your concerns? What are your questions? We addressed every single one of those in the slide deck. We strategically put together short snippets of information to help meet their outcome, their desire, to help overcome their challenge, and to help anticipate and answer their questions. Once we created the slide deck, our wonderful team member, Denise, she went ahead and made it beautiful. So it just looks ready to go and professional. Whether you're working with us or whether you're doing it on your own, you want that slide deck to have minimal text, beautiful graphics, and for every single word to make an impact. Okay, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to let Jill tell you what happened with her slide deck.
The person I interviewed with said she loved my slideshow. She printed it out in color and was holding it. And she's like, I've interviewed a lot of people. And she said, I've never seen anybody do this. So you are correct. People like it, which you already know. But
Isn't that crazy? For Jill, that slide deck flipped everything. It did two things. First, it met our purpose of delighting the customer. The employer was excited before she even walked in the room. Now, second, it set Jill up for a fantastic interview, meaning she had this awesome boost of confidence to walk into the interview knowing they were already excited about her. They had more information and they were ready to go with better questions, deeper questions. That's the thing. When you can prepare for a fantastic interview before you ever walk in the room, you're in great shape. Now, I know you're wondering, and yes, we can celebrate because Jill did get that offer just as predicted. That's what delighting your customer does. And so now that you know that we can create an opportunity in almost any market, my next question for you is, do you know the part of your search that's costing you the offer? What part of your search do you think you're doing anything less than delighting the employer? If you want to have a conversation about this, I'm happy to get on a call and chat through every part of your process, whether it's the positions you're targeting, your resume, your interview, LinkedIn, your networking conversations, second interviews. There's usually a place where we can leverage your unique value proposition to delight your customer. And if there's any place where your customer isn't being delighted, we will find it. We will help you tackle it. Anyways, if you're interested in that call, head over to theuncommoncareer.com/call and schedule a time to chat. We'll have 45 minutes, cool, calm, collected, to talk through your process, work out your strategy. And if it turns out that our program is helpful for you, we can always talk about that toward the end. Okay, so first is competition. But what about all the overwhelming technology, artificial intelligence, all the things and all the apps and all the services that are being thrown your way for the job search? It feels overwhelming. So now I'm at a disadvantage because everyone else is using AI and all these new softwares, right? So it's kind of like, I can't win. But here's the thing. Yes, the whole world is using AI. But there's two ways to use AI. One is the way that naturally comes to us, and one is leveraging it for opportunity. The natural way that tends to be happening all across the world is to use artificial intelligence a little bit more as a crutch. Did you know that artificial intelligence is quickly becoming the new social media? Here's what I mean. Social media is a way to make us into consumers, meaning that we're not producing, we are consuming content. What happens when we consume content is that our mind stops thinking. It literally trains our mind to stop thinking and to get our outcomes from the content. This is why we learn a lot, but we don't implement very much. The same thing is happening with AI. I know because last weekend I was actually on AI talking to it and typing all the things, right? For about an hour and a half. That just feels like way too long to be on AI. But I was on the good old chat GPT asking questions and trying to figure out faster ways of doing things. And at the end of that hour, what I realized is I basically did the equivalent of watching 5, 10, 15 YouTube videos, but they were just hyper targeted to the questions that I was asking. Again, I was consuming and I wasn't creating. And what happened toward the end of that session in AI is that I started to think of myself as a consumer, meaning I had lost a bit of creativity. It put me in a mindset where I felt dry unless I had that AI buddy helping me out. That's what's happening. Here's how you can do the complete opposite. The typical way of using AI is to take the posting, drop it into AI, take your resume, drop it into AI, and then say, draft these bullets for me or draft this resume to target this posting. And that's great. But what's happening there is AI is taking all the processing opportunity and using it and giving you something clean. But the power in your resume, the power in your story is in clarifying your value and in clarifying your unique angle and the combination of skills that differentiate you and bringing your own style into the process. Are you the person who's super fast? Are you the person who's really methodical? Are you an integrator or a builder or a scaler? Are you the glue that keeps a team together? What I notice happens during our branding sessions, and it can happen for you too if you journal. You can journal through any career story that you have, any achievement that you have, and you're going to start to slowly see this start to come out. When I'm asking questions, I'm continually asking myself, who are you? Tell me about the situation. And you'll start telling me, and I'll ask questions like, what was difficult about it? Who did you interact with? How is it that you got that part done so fast, but this other part was a little bit slower? Okay, who did this impact? What were they able to do? What would have happened if you hadn't done this? Right? A lot of those questions are being asked. And as you're answering these questions, I am constantly thinking, what's your style? And inevitably, every single time, we find your style. We find what it is that you do. What is your professional personality? What's your professional brand? And then we can make that stand out by making sure that every bullet demonstrates that. So, for example, if you're super fast, your bullets might include things like did XYZ in 90 days, cut time by 20%, met OTD and stayed 2 weeks under schedule, right? That's for someone who's really fast. If you're really methodical, we're going to talk more about depth and level of impact and setting a precedent and best practices, right? So, any given professional is going to have a balance and a combination. But what we want to do is hone in on your unique combination and then make that come through in every single bullet. And that's because sharing information, sharing everything, and saying, here, employer, you go ahead and process this, and you decide what's most important from here. That is actually kind of easy. But when you take the time, or when you and I take the time to process, to clarify, right? Whether it's you with me or you on your own, being able to provide the highest priorities and let your value differentiator come out in every single bullet, that's what gives the employer the most valuable and specific information possible fast. So they don't have to process. They look at your resume and they instantly know you're the person they need to call in. So, yes, AI is here. Everyone's using technology, and there's a million apps. But I don't think you're really losing out on anything. The first step has nothing to do with technology, has nothing to do with an app. The biggest value is actually in you clarifying what it is that you bring, what your style is in your work, and how that differentiates you from every other professional. So AI is here, everyone's using it, but you're going to use it differently. You're going to use it at the very tail end. Once you've clarified your value, once you've identified your style, then you go in and use AI to find the right words. That's how I use it. It's just you and me on calls for 2, 3, 4 sessions. And then I go in to use AI to find the best words that now embody the brand that we have already clarified. Okay, so we found the opportunity in so much competition. We delight every single customer. We found the opportunity in everybody's using AI, everybody's using technology, but you're going to use it differently. And now the last statement. The last statement I hear over and over and over again is I meet everything on their posting. I checked every single box, every single one, but I'm still not hearing back. I don't understand what they want. And here's the thing, the problem is that this process is a deceptively easy process with, the easy apply button and AI and all these other things. It's become way too easy to apply. What happens is that it makes every single one of us lean from quality over into quantity. So you apply for a ton of positions, but none of them are really high quality. Usually, what happens is the tables turn. When I first meet with you, you might say, I've applied to 200 applications across 2 years. And I'm like, okay, let's turn that around. For one client, it was 400 applications, and then they got hired in 40. For another client, it was over 200 applications. They've been in the program for about 20 days right now. They already have their first offer, and we think they're going to get a second. So that's the big difference. We've only had like 3, 4 applications with them. That's the point. We want quality over quantity. Here's an analogy. Do you remember when you had cash in your wallet and you went to the store and you really wanted to buy something, but then you open your purse, you open your wallet, and you realize it's a $100 bill. You don't have anything smaller. And you look at the thing you're going to buy, the shoes, the dress, the whatever, even though now you can't buy a dress for less than $100, but you look at the thing and you're like, oh, I really like this. I'm going to buy it. Then you look at your $100 bill and it literally physically hurts to break the 100 because you know that once you break it, it's pretty much gone. You might as well just give it up because it's gone, right? It's spent. Well, what happened from that? We got debit cards and now you just swipe and you can't tell when you break 100, you just keep spending. Now we've got one-click buy buttons. We've got subscriptions. They've made it so easy to spend our money that you and I don't even think about it. And this deceptively easy application process does the same thing. It makes it so easy to apply that it feels like there's no need to do anything beyond checking the boxes in the posting. That right there is your opportunity. The opportunity is in understanding that it's time to do more than check boxes. The opportunity is instead of going to an entirely new door, expecting something different if you change careers or change industries, the opportunity is in learning to market and sell your career. These are two finite skills. You don't need to learn marketing as a whole, that's way too broad. And you don't need to learn selling as a whole, that's way too broad. You just need to learn marketing and selling in the context of your career. And so, first, what does it mean to learn marketing skills for your career? That means getting comfortable with marketing yourself authentically. It means taking time to determine a clear and concise message. It means making sure that your message pinpoints exactly what matters most to your next employer. It means taking time to find and use the words in writing that are going to connect their personal and team and company desires. And it also means learning to convey in words, like in conversation, your value and your work confidently, but also at a higher and more strategic level. That's what I see when I think about marketing yourself authentically. It's those specific skills. And secondly, when you think about selling your career, since we're going beyond checking boxes, right? We're selling in conversation. And the beautiful thing about selling in conversation is that it doesn't have to feel like what you normally think of when you think of the word sell. I don't know about you, but when I think of the word sell, I think of a solicitor coming to my door on a Saturday morning at 6 o'clock when I did not ask for lawn service or I did not ask for pest control. The funny thing is, total side story, but when we first moved into our home, we were getting so many solicitors, we had to put a sign up that said, please, no solicitors. Can you believe it? Like people would still knock. And so I would go out there, but I wouldn't be ready. So I'm over here in like pajamas and I'm like, hi. So, anyways, all of that to say that when you don't ask for something, you don't appreciate it. But let's turn the tables. So funny. The very same company that came on a Saturday morning when I was in pajamas and totally not ready got a no. But that same company, when I had some pesky pests in the back of my yard, I was like, I do not want wasps all around me when I'm trying to enjoy the evening, right? What do? I call that exact same company. And that time when I needed them, you better believe I wanted to hear about all their pricing. I wanted to hear about what they offered. I wanted to hear about how they worked. My state of mind was completely different. And so the goal is to learn selling in conversation. Know how to introduce your offer, ask the right questions to look for alignment between your skill set and their needs, and then also how to subtly invite them to consider your skill set without making it feel like they have to offer you a job if they agree. Then you overcome objections, again, subtly in conversation with no pressure. All of this really is in the context of a pressure free, casual, yet professional conversation. And so, again, you don't need a whole other degree. You don't need to change careers. You just need to learn the skills and practice those skills with your own story so you get comfortable. You can get some practice here on the podcast. We're going to continue to share more and more on that. But if you really want to put it into action all at once and for all, then I invite you to join me in the Incoming Career Coaching Program. That's where you and I start to build out your brand as you storytell. And once I develop your resume, we then take that exact resume and we help to develop your messaging, the words you're going to say when you talk in conversation. And that helps you to come off authentically while also marketing your value. If you want to get your resume and your LinkedIn ready to go for the 2026 season, I do have a couple slots left, but it does take us a few weeks to really make you shine. So I encourage you to get started ASAP if we're going to make it before year end. Go ahead and head over to theuncommoncareer.com/call to book your call. And then whether or not we work together, I want to make sure that you have everything you need to make progress between now and the end of the year so you can delight your customer at every phase and so you can leverage technology and market and sell your value. All right, so remember, whether it's competition, artificial intelligence, or even an economic downturn, none of those can keep you down if you're willing to see the opportunity and then do what it takes to seize that opportunity. It's never been easier to be in the top 1%. Okay, last thing I'm going to leave you with, super exciting news. We have 40,000 downloads. That's 40,000 questions answered, job searches inspired, and offers accelerated. Thank you so much for listening and for putting what you learned here into action. And of course, for sharing the podcast with others. If you found this episode to be helpful, I really encourage you, please do me a favor, tap the 5 stars because that's how we get it out to more people. As always, know that we're cheering you on, we're praying for you, and we'll see you on the next one. Hey, thanks for listening. I really appreciate you spending time with me today. If you found this episode helpful, please tap the 5-star review on the show's homepage in your podcast app. It would absolutely make my day, and it helps others discover the Uncommon Career Podcast. Now, to download your free career resources and learn how I help seasoned professionals land amazing offers in as little as 90 days, click on the link in the description or go to theuncommoncareer.com. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.